Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am doing an actual mermaid piece. So in my last video, and you will see it in just a second if you missed it, that gouache piece right there, that was a mermaid inspired piece. I used a reference from the Graphic Studio mermaid pack. So it was mermaid inspired. She could just be anyone. She could be a mermaid. She could be whatever we want her to be. But in this case, it's definitely a mermaid, a merman for Mermay. I'm just going to tongue tie myself right in the beginning of this video. And it started out okay. I really enjoyed the sketching phase, but I struggled with some things. Notably, I don't think about mermaids very often. And then when I do, I overthink things and then forget like really simple things like maybe should look up some references for fish. So like I like the flow of this. I wanted to do a circle for the pose, and that worked. I like the flowy look of the tail. But I didn't really think out like what I wanted the actual fish part to look like. I had fish once, like long time ago, so I liked the ones with the really flowy tails, but I didn't like consciously plan out what I wanted the fish part to look like. So when I try to do one mermaid piece every year. When I did my merman last year, I didn't mean to make them both men. I was going to do a actual mermaid, but I just painted a female last week, so I don't know. It made sense in my head. I did the puffer fish, and I did actually have reference photos to help me along. In this case, I just kind of didn't think it out. And then that goes into the color choices. Every time I started something, it was a matter of, what am I doing here? So this was really poorly planned. To make matters worse, and it's not a big deal, it happens. I have a sty, so I can't see that well out of one of my eyes, so that doesn't help with the details. And then I think it's been a while since I did watercolor on this paper, so I forgot how easy it lifts. So that was on me too. Lessons learned all around. I also, and I don't remember if I said this already, I kind of forget that I don't love painting mermaids. I love mermaid art. People make the coolest stuff for Mermay, and I love looking at it. But I don't really enjoy the process of painting a mermaid as much as I would expect to. I like fantasy creatures. I like elves and demons and that kind of stuff. Angels, arguably fantasy or not fantasy, depending on how you look at it. Fantasy, folklore, religious. And I'm going to offend someone. I'm sorry. But, you know, like humanoid, but it's just something's different. And so you think like fish people would fit right on in, but not so much. It's like a different bucket in my brain, and the process is just different for me. So yeah, a lot of decisions made that weren't good ones for this one. I wish I put more time into it. I'm also really struggling because we're getting to the point where the daylight hours are really long, so my filming time is really short, and I'm also trying to take better care of myself, get more sleep, so I'm giving myself less time to film, and that's not helping the process. Getting more sleep is helping immensely. I need to work on it a bit more because some little kitty does not agree with my attempt to do better for myself there. It's a work in progress. I've got way off topic. So yeah, I decided to go with the Michael Harding watercolors, and I think looking back on it, the mental connection went as far as sea life, quinacridone coral is sea. I'm using this paint. I think that's it, because that's all I got. I knew I wanted to use quinacridone coral, and I think it was just an association there that I didn't consciously think through until later. So this painting heavily features quinacridone coral. Beyond that, I didn't plan the colors well at all, and I started with quinacridone coral for the tail and ended up with a really pink tail that I'm not super fond of, but that's okay. And then everything was just like, as I did it, I only then thought about color choices. So I went to do the hair, and it's like, let's just do like a dark brown. And then I went to do the tail, it's like, let's do quin coral and build from there. And then for the fins, it was like, I think that was like the last thing I did. And I'm like, I don't know, yellow. So it really poorly planned piece. Every time I go to paint, I'm like, you should plan things out more. Do some thumbnails, do some colors. No, not one of these days. Today is not that day. So yeah, don't really have too much else to say. I don't remember if I said this already. I really wanted to go with a really circular pose because I like circular compositions, and like the long tail really enables that. I really like the shape of the tail even in the sketch. I wish I'd spent more time actually considering the folds, the lines, the texture of the tail, the fin, because I didn't put enough energy into that, and I think it could have been a much more beautiful tail. And I also, as a last minute thought, decided to pull out my FineTec Mica. I don't know if it was like pearlescence or not the gold, but the colored ones, colorful. I don't know what that set's called. It's been so long since I used it. But yeah, I decided to take that out to add some sparkle because it makes sense to have sparkles and scales. And the colors weren't quite what I remember them being. They blended in more than I expected. And then I don't get that like as much shine as I thought. So I just kind of fidgeted with those entirely too much and it didn't have the payoff for the amount of time I spent on it, I don't think. But it is what it is. Maybe I'll take notes and remember this all next year, but probably not. I'll probably go through this again next year. The next time I try to paint a mermaid, I'll leave myself a note in next year's like journal, my planner, like plan ahead, look up fish, do some color studies in advance. I don't know, something. Or maybe just base the mermaid more off of a specific fish, because then it's a lot easier to plan markings and textures and all that stuff, because there's a lot more references. I mean, there's a ton of references. I really don't have an excuse. Laziness and not planning ahead. I think I actually forgot I was supposed to be filming a video until like midway through Saturday. I was like, I should probably sketch something. So that goes to show how well planned out this was. Need to get better. Need to do better. It's okay. I mean, for what it is, it works. It was fun enough. I don't hate it. I'm not feeling it. I do like the tail in the sketch phase though. The tail fin. I don't know fish anatomy. I also had a moment where I was sitting on the couch sketching, had the TV on. I paused the TV and I kind of yelled at my husband across the house because I am lazy, about whether mermaids have gills. And he said, I don't remember exactly how he put it, but he made it sound like that's what the experts agree on. And I really want to know who the mermaid experts are and also where the gills go. So in a fish, the gills are in the neck, but in a human, the lungs are in the torso. So for a mermaid, would the gills be in the neck or would they be around the ribs? And when I think about it, I think I've seen it both ways in media. So I don't know. Just random thoughts. Where do the gills go? If they have gills, do they use their nose? Do they have lungs and a gill system? Or are they tied together? Can they use both? Clearly need to watch more mermaid movies. I don't know. Do they just surface like whales? Get their air that way? If you are really into mermaids, you can let me know what you think in the comments, and then I will come back to that and next time I paint fish people and make better art. I also not really sure about hips. So I see like other people when they draw mermaids, and I don't know if it's just because references or what, but hips are pretty common. Like most mermaids seem to have or human hips, even though fish don't have hips. But sometimes people give them very prominent butts. Sometimes they get very prominent knees. I don't know. And I don't want to get into like the other parts of anatomy and how that would work because I'll just ick myself out. So yeah, I really should stop talking. I'm sorry. It has been an interesting day, and I'm gonna stop talking about that. So at this point, I was thinking about scales, and originally I thought maybe I'd do some like tattoos, or I wasn't sure, some sort of marking on the skin, and then I got lazy and just started throwing in scales everywhere because I didn't really think about where to put the scales. And then I realized I could have even put like a fin on the arm. I don't know if it would have shown because I guess it might have, because if it came out of the outer side of the forearm, it probably would show in this photo, maybe not. I just didn't really think about it. How far up the scales go. Do the scales just go around the tail? How that transition happens between the tail and the torso? I think I usually make the scales extend up the torso a little bit, but this time I kind of threw them everywhere. They're like kind of looking a little diseased, and I regret that part. So, oh well. I did like the little scales I added at the very end on the face. I thought that was a nice touch, but I wish I left them off the chest and the forearm, because that really doesn't do anything, and especially because it was planned pretty late, or not planned, it was just thrown in randomly. It doesn't really look good. I tried adding some more sparkle to it just to make it pop out. I thought the FineTec Mica also made things like a little lighter because of the way it reflected the light, but it looked pretty much the same. So maybe just because they are so old, they weren't reactivating quite as well. I don't think it was too watered down. I think they just weren't activating like they used to. It's been a really long time since I used those. I could probably test those on a scrap piece of paper and see what happens. So yeah, it's all good. I still had fun times painting. Listening to a new audiobook that I'm not that into, so that probably also factored in. It's just something by Mary Robinette Kowal. I really loved her Lady Astronaut series. And this series, or this individual book, I picked it up without knowing anything about it, and I think it's called The Spare Man. It's just not really my thing, but it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's just not like something I'm really excited about. I'm also reading the latest Murderbot book, so I'm like on a sci-fi kick, and I'm not really into that right now either, so maybe I'm just not in a bookish mood and should have been listening to music or something. Yeah, I don't know. Could take a break from that too. Otherwise, the only other thing going on is I've been playing Little Jedi Survivor, but that game is really triggering my motion sickness, so I can't play it that long. It seems fine if I kind of forgot about it when I was in the really open world areas, and then I get back on the ship, and just walking down that hallway immediately makes me sick, so I'm just walking down the hall with my eyes closed, which, not the right way to play a video game. Actually, that's the white. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's a sign that I should probably be signing off. So yeah, I'm just adding some white highlights. Another last minute decision to play with the circular theme more, and because I realized at this point I didn't have the energy to stay up later to do a background and just wanted to do something simple. So I did like little bubbles. I made them really faint because I wasn't sure I was committed to the idea. And then I realized, just gonna leave it like that. So I did really faint little bubble shapes, more circles, very circular theme, this painting, and then added some white highlights, which you can't see. So that's it. And here's where I'm trying to show off the sparkles. And yeah, they're there, but it's not overly prominent. So yeah, that's all I got. Hope you're doing well, taking care of yourselves, and I apologize for whatever this was, but I will see you in a future video. Bye now.